Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Temitope Olodo, and it's a great honor and privilege, to come to your house and speak to you today on the variety of issues, that are happening our in our nation that we love so much, Nigeria. Uh, but before we go on, let me use this opportunity to welcome Barrister Adebola, who is joining us, and Brother Chidi, who is also joining us on the platform. So, but let me quickly, because we're going straight into business, let me just show you a video now. If you've not seen this video, I'm just showing you this video. And one of the reasons I'm showing this video is because of what is actually happening in Nigeria as we speak. So, and I'll be, speaking to my guest on the issue and asking them to more or less talk about themselves on this matter. So, let me first show you this quick video so that at least you could understand exactly where we're coming from on this issue. Okay, watch this video.
We have cowards and spineless, lily-livered idiots as governors. They have given over our land to the Janjaweed to occupy in perpetuity. This very generation, this very IPOB will not tolerate it. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever. We would rather all perish and die than to allow our land to be taken over by the Janjaweed. It cannot happen. This is a warning to all the governors who are conspiring due to one political consideration or the other to give our land to infidels and blood-sucking demons from the Sahel. It cannot happen.
Okay, so that is Mr. Kanu, who currently now is cooling off in a cell in Abuja following his arrest. We know that there have been so many stories about his arrest as we speak. Some people have said that he was arrested in Kenya. Some people have said he was arrested in Ethiopia. What we know for sure is that he was not arrested in the UK, because we know that even if there is an extradition of order of any kind, if you're going to be arrested from the United States Kingdom, you will still have your day in court that you could actually challenge that decision. But what we have seen is that he was picked up and just boom, taken to Nigeria. No opportunity for him to defend himself, to more or less, say no, I don't want to go back to Nigeria. To more or less say that I'm a British citizen, and if you want to try me, you could try me in the UK and things like that. So that has not happened. So I've got my guest that will be speaking on this. So let me go to my first guest, Mr. Chidi. Please, I want you to. I'm going to show one extra video, and after that video, I want you to give me your views about what is currently happening in terms of from a risk assessment. Because I know that's one of your expertise. A lot of cultural groups and ethnic groups have come out to say they need to be a bit careful about the way they manage this. If they put him on trial and they deal with him based on the fact that, based on the things he has said, the federal government might be able to succeed in handling him. But if they allow the issue of Biafra, they allow the marginalization of the Southeast to come into play, Nigerian government might lose the battle of heart and mind. So I want you to speak to that and speak to what you are hearing on the ground in terms of what is happening on the ground. But before you speak on that, I want you to watch this video, and I want people listening to me to listen very carefully to this video, you know, and it's to do with the arrest of some iPod members. And it's very, very important that you listen, because you will understand where I'm coming from, or where Brother Chidi is going to be taking his cue from in terms of explaining what is happening in the southeast as we speak. Please watch this video.
We were arrested at Agubikwo local government in Ebonyi State after a meeting. So we are trying to go to Oneke's police station. So after set and done, we launched at Okpoko Zekona at Oneke. Before we got information that the soldiers has blocked the road to the station. So for us to now return to our camp, on getting to Agobia Parish, the vigilante now caught us. So after everything, they called the Bago Security Network. They now took us to the station. But if I'm referring to the indigenous people of Biafra, that is IPOB.
How old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
Are you in school?
Yes,
Which class? What class?
SS2.
How were you recruited? How did you get involved with that?
It was on 17th January 2015 when my cousin, which is named Kelechi, came to me. So he based at Lagos. So he was telling me that IPOB they don't like the way the Fulani herdsmen are maltreating our brothers. So that they have to divide Nigeria so that they can stay on their own to avoid any maltreatment. So that was how was he was telling me on that 17th night, that 17th January. So after everything, I sat down. That was 18th. I sat down. I was thinking that this what this my brother told me is true. So after everything, I listened to a broadcast of Nnamdi Kanu about the Fulani herdsmen. So after everything, I decided to join them. So I didn't join that 215. I stayed 216. Then 217, I joined them. So that was how I joined the IPOB.
Okay. Let's go back to the meeting you talked about. The meeting was what was it all about?
We have two purposes for the meeting. Number one, that Oneke police station. Then two, how to visit our brothers. How to go and bring back our brothers in Imo State. For this all this crisis in Imo State. It's also for people from Ebonyi that joined with Imo State. So this was the two reasons why we joined why we called for the meeting.
All right. So how were you arrested?
Okay, it was on on Sunday night. After we are going back, it has okay. Let me say it's on Monday morning, early morning, because it's almost to. I left the school that I slept that night by 5:16. So on my mind is that the vigilante has all of them has gone home or they have slept off. So I entered bike with one of our comrades. So we now move. Then on getting to Agobia, so they shout out at us we should stop. So we stop. They asked us where we coming from. So we pretended as if we are securities at the school. So but they pull our clothes and saw the mark that they saw at the body of others. So they now say we are members. So which true we are members of IPOB freedom fighters.
Okay. What about the killing of the soldiers? Were you involved in any way, or did you know any person that was involved?
Many was involved, but like I knew it was about four of them. That was Sonny, Onyame, Danny, the one that drive keke, and one called Monday. Then I was the one they sent to go for that Amasre Junction to spy at that place. So on getting there, I called them and gave them every information. So not less than 30 minutes they arrived. So that was how the killing of the soldiers was organized.
Okay, let's look at your expertise, in arranging directions for the attackers. Tell us more about that. You are good in map drawing for IPOB.
Yes, I draw map, I spy, I give information, I rescue.
Do you fire?
I didn't fire.
But your own is to spy
Yes,
and draw
and
map.
give information and draw map. Yes.
So far, your own group, of the IPOB freedom fighters. How many people have they killed so far? That's the military and the police.
That was last year during the NSAS. We lost three of our comrades, which was the one they killed. One of them was killed here. Then two of them was at CPS on the day of CPS.
CPA. What about security officers? Your group or your clan killed anyone?
They have killed many of them because the one of Isheke, it was also organized by our group. The one of Oneke was also our group. The one of Ono Ebonyi is also our group. So the one of that CPS, the arms we collected was healed by the Onye.
Okay, we've both listened. We've listened to this video, and anybody listening can get a gist of exactly what is happening here. From your perspective, sir, being a security expert, being somebody that works in this field, tell me, what is your opinion of what is happening now as we speak in the southeast? A secondary school boy have been recruited into iPod, and we could see the number of people. This guy, whether you like him, you hate him, Nnamdi Kanu controls a lot of people. A lot of people follow him because of the injustice, which is what this boy was talking about. Because of the injustice, how can the Nigerian state win the heart and mind of this kind of young individuals who are now following Kanu because they could see the injustice, whether because the government was slow to act on issues, or because the government was negligent, or because it was even fake news? Whichever way it is, government have responsibility to make sure that every citizen feel, you know, as part and parcel of the Nigerian state. What is your opinion on this?
Well, I think the video is very informative and it shows, however you want to take it, it shows a certain reality. And I think it shows that in terms of looking at the Southeast, I'll try and break it down into three. What I think, there are three different elements to the insecurity happening there. There's the ESN IPOB elements, which you saw quantified in that video, which I'm going to address in a second. Then there's the other element, which is political issues. So as you know, there's elections just past, elections coming up, some of which seems to have generated a little bit of this violence. And then there's other elements which we can just categorize as criminality, as well as unknown elements who we're not quite sure what their modus operandi is. But I think it's very clear that there is that IPOB, is, or IPOB members are undertaking some of these violent acts. Now, what that video shows is something that's very interesting and very classic in terms of insurgency, is that is the radicalization and the recruitment process. And that you've got a very young fellow, if a secondary school student who has been recruited into an insurgent group, has been trained in, at least according to his testimony, and in the basics of spycraft, in terms of observation, mapping, etc., passing on information, and it's just classic insurgency, in that all the insurgents will recruit these young boys and give them job, because most except the psychopathic kind of fellows, most people don't want to kill or are not used to killing. They would, but if you told him what you're doing is for a noble cause, which is what he alluded to, we're fighting against injustice, Fulanis are killing us, etc., all these kind of things that he's been told, and there's all kinds of injustices. But you don't have to kill. All you need to do is go and spy. He will go and spy, and he'll spy. One day he will now pick up a weapon, and he will be given a weapon, and he will kill. He's indoctrinated. He's also blooded. He's also experienced. Now he's been captured now when as he's young. Hopefully, he'll be given a fair trial, and hopefully he'll be rehabilitated as a young fellow who was radicalized. But the most important thing from an insurgency point of view is that these young chaps who are being brought into this, it's what I call the, revolutionary evolution, where at some point, like now, what you see people be, setting the older fellows are being killed. A lot of people are being killed. It's what you see in Boko Haram. They say the average age of a Boko Haram commander now is like 29, 30, the senior commanders, because they've had 10 years of their senior commanders being killed, older fellows being killed, getting wiped out. And then there's a cadre of young fellows who came in young, who've come up through the ranks, who started from the basics, not carrying weapons, just either for walking around, following in the camps, doing whatever it is, who are now seasoned fighters, hardened fighters, who have seen death, blood, destruction, who have spent their whole lives around violence. Now you're seeing the same kind of pattern starting. This young fellow now, and others like him who have been recruited at young ages, who will go through this. Some of them will survive, some will escape, some will go back to normal life, but some will be hardened, and some will have seen injustice and want to take revenge. And these are the ones who are going to be the problematic ones, because I'll be brutally honest, a lot of the older guys that are in this thing, they're not necessarily fanatics. Some of them are political thugs, some of them are cultists, some of them maybe they are ideologically, inclined, but as you can see, they're getting wiped out quite easily, for what's considering how easy it would be if you really wanted to plan a proper insurgency in the southeast. They're getting wiped out quite easily, and they're making a lot of sloppy mistakes from an operational point of view. But it's the young fellows, those ones that learn the lessons, that survive, that become hardened, that have been radicalized, and now not just that they've been radicalized by someone talking to them, they've now become radicalized by what they're witnessing, by the brutality, the bloodthirstiness, and this is where the problem lies. The problems are storing up for the future. Now, everybody, as an Igbo man, I can be very candid and very honest in that, personally, Nnamdi Kanu doesn't speak for me. IPOB doesn't speak for me. He doesn't speak for the vast majority of Igbos. But what he does is he speaks to something within us, in that there is that injustice that has happened that is not addressed, that is not that is swept under the rug, that nobody ever wants to speak about. And then if it is spoken about, it is spoken about in a contentious or in a gloating manner. And it's something that Nnamdi Kanu has taken advantage of and used it to build up this image and perpetrate this kind of image of a freedom fighter, in a very using horrible methods. We did all of this very violent and disgusting rhetoric, but he's done it because there's an injustice that has not been addressed. And going back, if we ignore all the other massacres, if we forget about political positions and all of this stuff that the Igbo elites talk about, the key injustice is comes from the massacres of 1966, and that nobody has ever acknowledged these massacres, nobody has ever been held to account for them, and nobody has even apologized for them. And one of the things I said is this year, when this whole thing started with the unknown gunmen, I thought this was a great opportunity where the leadership, the federal government, should have seized that opportunity, taken control of the narrative, and turned around and said, listen, we know that something bad happened. I'm not saying they should have said, okay, we're responsible, XYZ is responsible. Just say, we know something bad happened. We know people feel bad about it. On behalf of the federal government, we regret what happened. That would take away a huge amount of the anger and the angst that a lot of people feel. And at the same time, you just change the a lot of the language that the president has used recently. I'm sure deep down inside he's just talking the way he talks. Maybe he doesn't mean anything by it, but the contemptuous and dismissive way that he speaks about that certain region of the country, it triggers all of these things. So I think the key thing now for me going forward is looking at the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, is how he's treated now. The most dangerous thing will be for him to die in custody, because it's not so much that it would. I mean, I don't know how to put this. It's not so much that him dying in custody would be unusual in a Nigerian context. It's just that it creates a matter, and as I said, it's not the people that are going on radio. It's not Nnamdi Kanu himself is not a dangerous individual. It's the people that he has radicalized that are dangerous. And if he dies in custody and there's nobody to hold those people in check, we have the makings of a very, very dangerous insurgency. And one would only hope that, the federal government and its foreign partners are talking to them very, very sternly that there needs to be a fair trial. There needs to be an open trial. And if he's convicted, the sentence needs to be proportionate and it needs to be, fair. I think that's the key thing. We cannot add injustice on top of injustice. That to me is the big issue. And this is not about Nnamdi Kanu, the person or the leader of IPOB. It's about how the country treats its people. I think that's the key thing for me.
Before I bring in Barrister, let me just ask you one simple question, because I know you are into risk analysis and management. What is your assessment of how things are going? Because we've seen a strategic move, whether iPod or no iPod, somebody at the background is doing some very, very heavy damage to the Nigerian state in terms of what they do in taking out infrastructure that you really need to be able to handle insurgency or challenges of insecurity. So they went after democratic institutions that you need for voting or to be voted for. They went after security networks, and they are really continuing. There's no stop to it. People are really, really afraid. From your assessment, if you have an opportunity to speak to the commander in chief of the armed forces today in Nigeria today, what are the two advice you give to him apart from the winning of heart and mind in terms of how to move? People have talked about create a dialogue so that people can vent their, as South Africa have done it, they allow people to talk about, their concerns, how their family lost out, and the word sorry has gone a long way, even if you've not given anybody compensation. The word sorry, but it looks as if the leadership have a different approach to how things should be done. What would be your one or two advice to the leadership if you could?
So I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head. As I said, the first thing we've talked about is this act of contrition and acknowledgement. But the second thing, which is again crucial before we get to any of the kinetic stuff, is this thing about opening up a dialogue, people talking. There is no part of Nigeria where people are happy with Nigeria. There's not a single part, whether it's the north, the south, everybody is unhappy. Even the people, the president is from the northwest. The concept there is that their man is in charge, but they are the most. Even if you take away this insecurity, it's the most deprived part of Nigeria. And now, on top of that deprivation, you've got this terrible insecurity of these bandits killing, kidnapping, raping, stopping people farming. The next big crisis coming to Nigeria is famine. I'm saying it now, and I'm not the only one saying it, but we need to be clear that the next crisis is famine. And it's not a famine because the rains failed or because of a weed or bugs. It's because people are not able to plant. And because they're not able to plant, they're eating their seeds. And once the planting season comes, even if you have seeds, you can't go to the farm because of bandits. Even if you go to the farm and you survive and you plant, you can't harvest because of bandits. And even if you say, okay, you manage to get around all of that, the amount of resource that you will need to dedicate to protecting yourself on that farm makes the whole farming process uneconomic. So the next problem we're going to have in Nigeria is that within at least 1 or 2 farming seasons, there will not be enough food to feed, and we barely feed ourselves. We will not have enough food to feed ourselves in the subsistence level, much less feeding the cities and other parts. So that's a separate issue. I'm kind of sidetracking. But the most important thing is, first and foremost, let everybody talk. And the first time that people talk, they will just say everything. People will say we want to do Dual Republic. Someone will say I want Arewa. Someone will say we want Sharia in the whole of Nigeria. Someone will say we want Biafra. Someone will say we want all these people pushed into the state. Let people talk. Once they've got that out of their chest, everybody will calm down. and then we start talking sensibly. Even if you take my state, even if you take my town, if you take my village, forget my village, you take my compound, nobody will agree on what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do. But at least once people start talking and everybody comes to an agreement, everybody at least hears everybody else's side, then you have a better understanding and a basis by which to go forward. So the first piece of advice I will give, as I said, is that act of conciliation towards the Southeast. It doesn't detract from anybody. But the second thing I would say is that the whole country needs to have a conversation with itself. And I would start in such a way, I would say it starts in the local government. It starts in the ward. Every single ward in every local government in Nigeria should have a town hall where everybody brings their point of view. There's no big man, there's no you keep quiet. Everybody talks. You have a basic template to say, okay, once everybody has talked, we take our top 10 issues, and we from that ward conversation, we come together and have a local government conversation. And for that local government conversation, we take all our issues, put them together, and identify and agree on our top 10. Every local government then goes at the state level again, repeating the process. And then once you've done that, repeating at the state level, then repeat at the regional level, everybody comes together, has a conversation, and something will come out. Even if we don't, we don't come out with the most beautiful constitution, the most beautiful agreement, at least the important thing is that everybody has heard everybody else's side. Everybody at least has started talking, and there's something going. And it takes a lot of the fight and the fire out of all of this agitation. People are picking up weapons because they have no other way to get people to hear them. The only way the government listens to you is when you're violent, is when you do something that shakes them. If you talk, they just ignore you, or they send people to beat you up, or they lock you up. So I think that's the first. Those are the non-kinetic things. And then in terms of kinetic elements, I think we also need to be clear that a lot of what's happening is linked to politics, not just the state elections, but the federal elections. According to our wonderful rotational system, this should be the Southeast turn. Now, I don't believe the Southeast has any chance in hell of producing a president, not just because I don't see any presidential material amongst the leading politicians, except maybe one or two people, but just because there's so many elements who do not like the Southeast. So I think a lot of this can be linked to politics, the political elite trying to create a certain situation, some for to try and push the Southeast ahead, and some trying to retard it, which is why you see not just the attacks on the security services, but attacks on political offices, which, that has very little, if you were a genuine insurgency, what you would be targeting would be symbols of the state. Things like, as has been mentioned, the police, the courts, those have been attacked, yes, but also local government offices, mobile phone masts, power, things that will, I don't know what INEC office has to do with anything, but, as I said, there's more to this than just IPOB, ESN, whatever it is.
Thank you so much. Let me go to Barrister now. Barrister, thank you for waiting patiently. I know you have your own views on a lot of things, and I think we are all in agreement that issue of secession, just like Mr. Chidi said, is not the way forward, is not the way to move Nigeria forward. But the Nigerian state itself needs to be very, very careful in the way in which they manage this, because the whole world is watching. People are watching Australia, people are watching America, and what we don't want is something like this happening again. And I'll just show you this video for just 30 seconds, because I just want you and our viewers to see this, and then I will take your comment on the Kanu.
Tell me what's going to come out and testify. Idiots. I'll stop Boko Haram everywhere. Fulani has my killing people. You want to try me? Tell your father is sitting, not me. Animals. Tell your father is sitting, not me. Idiots. Animals. Come and sit here. Come and sit here. Pastor, as well educated, come to try somebody who is learned. Are you mad? How can you jail me? You idiots. It's not possible. Do you see it? Hey, are you a journalist? Did you see it? We are even in which handcuff inside court. Do you see what Buhari is doing? Of intimidation. Do you see the intimidation from Buhari?
Okay. So now, with all those ploy, with all those things that happen, you will have expected that, okay, when you've been released, when the handcuff have been removed, and you are giving your day in court, you will stay and you will argue the court of what do you call it, jurisprudence, and put your case forward to the court and win your case. Instead, you ran away, you disappeared, and now they brought you back. And now we don't want this kind of drama happening. We want you to be civilized so that it will be dealt with in accordance to Nigerian constitution. What is your view on this, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Presenter. And I greet our viewers too for always being with us every time we come online. I'm sure he's going to have his day in court, definitely. And I would like to think that the federal government must have learned a thing or two from what happened last time, because there was a bit of a laxity on the part of the federal government that gave him the opportunity to be able to get out of the net at the time. Hopefully, they'll be able to do everything right now. First, by according him his human rights to ensure that he's entitled to a good lawyer, who can fight his case for him and everything. And again, on the other side of the spectrum, I expect the federal government themselves to have a watertight case against him, because even for me, from the outside looking in, there are so many incriminating videos that this guy has made that is enough to nail him. I remember a couple of weeks ago we were discussing this same issue here. I think it was you that was asking the question that how come he's still roaming about and the UK government is not doing anything about it. And I remember I said to you at that time that the UK government will never do anything until whatever he does touches them. That is when they will speak up. And I remember I made it clear on that day. Maybe somebody was insinuating that it should have been Abike Dabiri or Lai Mohammed that should have done something about it. And I said, no, that's not their purview. That it's the Attorney General of the Federation that has the power to do anything about that case. And at that time, I remember that I said I was wondering why he's not done anything.
Exactly.
Now, they've tried. They've played their MasterCard now to get him into Nigeria without any skirmish whatsoever. So far, so good. I'm sure they would not be stupid to allow anything bad to happen to him in custody, because all eyes are on Nigeria now to see how the case will pan out. As far as I know, if Nigeria plays their card very well, they should have a watertight case against him that will nail this guy once and for all. Because for me, the guy has become more or less like a nuisance to the country. I'm sorry, I have to be very blunt here, because even if he's my brother, I would disown him, because you don't burn the house that raised you. Because I believe he was first of all a Nigerian before he became a British citizen. So you cannot, because you've got a British citizen now, you're now throwing stone into your father's house, forgetting that your own nation and everybody are there. So these are for me the areas that I find I think are disgusting about the whole thing. Again, going by what my colleague has just said earlier on, I think I agree with him when he was talking about the fact that there's no region or area in Nigeria that's not marginalized. It's true. Every single part of Nigeria that you speak to today will have one story or the other to tell. So it's not as if marginalization or anything is peculiar to the Southeast. We've discussed it a couple of months here that when Jonathan was in government, the Yorubas were seriously shortchanged in that government. And you did not hear any agitation from the Yorubas. And that was why I think we were discussing the Yoruba nation thing on that program, when I said to them that if it was during Jonathan's era that they were talking about this, I may not agree with them, but at least I will understand where they're coming from. But now it's not the time for such agitation. Now, I'm just talking about the Yoruba nation now. But speaking generally about the country, I grew up in the north. I spent all my life in the north. I've never lived in the south of Nigeria. And I can tell you categorically that poverty is more prevalent in the north than in the south, despite the fact that they have been in government all these years. So, an average Hausa man too has a right to claim marginalization. If you want to go by the definition of the equity and the rest of them. So what I'm trying to say here is that um, I don't see the sense in any part of the country wanting to claim we are more marginalized than the other people. At one point or the other, every part of Nigeria has been marginalized for one reason or the other. I believe that is why, for me, I still believe in one another. Those are the issues that we should sit down together and discuss. That how do we ensure that such things don't happen anymore? But like I said, not neither southeast, southwest, northeast, north. Nobody can claim sole victimization about this thing they call marginalization because every part of that country has at one time or the other experienced it. So for me, what we should be talking about is how do we ensure that does not happen again in the country because whether we like it or not, that is what people like Kanu are feeding on. For me, I feel sorry for that little boy that we watched on the video. He's a very, very impressionable boy who is smart enough to be able to draw a map, something that he should have been using to better his future. Now he's probably going to spend all his life behind bars. What for? For some lies that have been told to him, some propaganda that have been thrown around. Because I watched the video of Kanu earlier when he was talking about their land has been given to me, blah 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 blah. And I don't know who gave him that impression because as far as I know, under the Land Use Act of Nigeria, the federal government does not own land. It is the states that own the lands. So where did you get the idea that one Fulani has sold their land to somebody? I don't get it. Because every land in the state is owned by the state government. The federal government, the only land that the federal government owns in Nigeria is Abuja because it's the federal capital territory. Every other part of Nigeria is owned by the state. All the land in the state is owned by the state. So I don't know this is why I'm talking about propaganda being thrown at people, and a lot of people bought into it without taking a rain check on it, and making their own minds up about about the reality on ground. Again, you see, sometimes let me just digress a little bit. Sometimes when I see some videos on social media, people taking videos of cows running around in town and all that, and trying to make a yes, I'm not for that kind of thing. But sometimes I think in my head because I remembered I was in primary school in the 60s in the north, and that is a common phenomenon. We see it every day. So sometimes now when I see it, I'm like, why are people making issues about this? Instead of that, why don't we sit down and say, okay, how do we stop this from happening? Because most of the problem we have in Nigeria now, even though everybody is pointing accusing finger at the government, but what we as individuals has contributed to the problem on ground it cannot be discounted because a lot of us jump into some imaginary conclusion that instead of us looking closer to home to look for the solution to our problem, everybody's looking towards Abuja, everybody's looking towards the federal government. It's gotten so bad now that if someone has a wife and the wife is not put to bed on time, it is Buhari's fault. Next thing you hear is Buhari did not allow my wife.
Saying that, let me now ask you, because a lot of people have talked about the hypocrisy of the Nigerian government, the Nigerian
Yeah.
state. And there is this video I want to show, which I believe will more or less explain why people are saying that there is hypocrisy in the way government is doing things. So give me your views on this.
What did I advise from the police? He's already headed in Abuja.
Nobody invited me for questioning or any arrest. I can categorically say that. But since when I venture into the forest, I go there with full security, with the police, with the knowledge of the SS, with the government officials, with the traditional rulers, and with the Fulani leaders. I never went alone. So all along, I've been doing it with the government, and there is no any difference between us and the authority. So people should have their peace.
Now you've heard him, and it's made it clear that everything is done with the knowledge of Nigerian security services.
Yeah.
And this is a man that the military have come to condemn. The police have condemned him that they don't know anything about him. He is accused the military of being involved in some of the challenges and things that is happening in Nigeria, that they are colliding, and then the DSSL were inviting him for questioning, and then he comes out and say, how can they invite me? They know about my movement. They even said they provide me security to go to those places. Why is there a difference in the way the left and the right hand is talking? Why is it that we are talking from every side of our mouth in Nigeria on the issue of security? Because this man has said some very serious issues that could destroy Nigeria, and yet this guy is walking freely and nobody is speaking. If we're saying we are dealing with all kind of hate speech, this guy should actually because I'm going to ask Mr. Chidi to talk on something, but I want you to speak on this because you speak Hausa, so you can more or less relate to Gumi speaking in this video.
Amma abin da nake so ku sani ya faɗi sunayen sojojin da suke wa'annan ba musulmai bane. Kun san soja akwai musulmi da wanda ba musulmi ba. Kun san da haka ko? To wanda ba musulmin ciki ba domin ya haɗa faɗa su suke irin wannan kisa. To in kun zo ramawa kuka shiga gari wurin ramawa kuma sai aka ga kun kashe namiji, kun kashe yaro, kun kashe tsoho, shine kuma hankalin mutane tashi. Ya za a yi soja su zo su yi ɓarna, masu aiki su yi ɓarna, amma in an tashi kuma sai a rama a cikin mutanen gari. Bari ba ku misali, shekaran jiya an kama an yi garkuwa da mutane, cikinsu mace mai hijabinta da yaro, yanzu haka suna tsare, ko ba ku ji labarin ba. To irin wannan shi ke ɓata sunan haƙƙinku. An bi an kama.
That was a very dangerous message there.
Yeah.
Even with my, I understand Hausa. I used to speak a bit of Hausa, but I've lost everything to burger and chips now. But even with my little knowledge, the way, the tonation, the way he's speaking, the body language is more or less saying, you know what, we are for you. But those people, if anybody shoots at you, is the Christian soldiers. And he also accused the military just few days ago that the military are colliding with bandits in actually going to schools and picking up children. What do you have to say? Is this guy not also meant to be given the same treatment that Nnamdi Kanu is being given?
Let me just add one thing that you probably didn't hear.
Yeah.
He, after saying, because he made it categorically clear that the soldiers that were killing them, that they were not Muslims, they were Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, when he said Nkunzora Mawa, That is when they want to go and avenge the death, that they shouldn't touch the Muslim soldiers.
Wow. Wow.
That was what he said. So, which to me is more or less like fanning the ember of religious war there.
And also saying that they should kill Christian soldiers. They should kill soldiers. Literally.
Yeah.
That
So
alone is indictable.
Yeah. That I was just gonna say that. I just took it out of my mouth. Now, these are some, you see, even though I support this government, but you know me for a fact that sometimes
Yes.
when they do certain things, I get mad. And this for me is one of those things. Because for me, it's like, are we now saying this guy is untouchable? Because for me, this video is no different from the same video that Nnamdi Kanu did when he said they should kill police. Same thing. So the question you asked was why? How come he's not? Well, he said he was being invited by the DSS. For me, that leaves a very bitter taste in my mouth. I must be very frank with you, because he shouldn't be invited. Even when he was invited, I would have expected, on the strength of this video alone, he should have been arrested for him to explain exactly what he meant by those statements. Because to me, that is more or less like he went there with the intention to incite them against certain section of the military guys.
I also heard him saying clearly on Arise TV, I'll mention the name, where he said clearly that they can't, the Fulanis can't stand against the reason why they are attacking certain states is because the governors are recruiting vigilantes who kill them. So the government should stop recruiting vigilantes. They should recruit the Fulani headers to be the armed men, not headers. I apologize. The armed men, the ones that are kidnapping, they should recruit them to be the ones watching over schools.
You see, like I said, I've said it a couple of times on this program that this government sometimes they have a way of shooting themselves in the foot. And for me, it is no longer excusable now. Some of the lapses that we see, it's no longer excusable if truth must be told. Because if somebody who has been in government for 6 years, we cannot say they're still learning the ropes. So for me, if not for anything else, this short clip that we just watched, for me, is enough to get that guy behind bars.
Wow.
And the fact that he's still roaming on the street, you see, I've said it before here that both the rulers and the ruled will all contribute to the problem we find ourselves in. This is one part of the government that they are contributing to it. Because for me, I don't care how highly placed you are in society, if the words that comes out of your mouth or the action that I see you exhibit does not edify the country, but rather is trying to incite one set of the one part of the country against the other. As far as I'm concerned, you are the enemy of the state. And I don't care if you are my wife, you have to be done for it. This is what we call rule of law. And the moment where it's appearing to the citizens that it is one rule for John, and there's another rule for Ibrahim.
Peter, yeah.
That is where problem starts. And trust me, that is what someone like Nnamdi Kanu is feeding on.
Yes.
To be radicalizing this young, impressionable men. You see, I think Mr. Chidi said it at the beginning that this country, this government need a lot of work to do to win the hearts and minds of the people, because they themselves are doing a lot of things that leaves so much to be desired. Sometimes there was a man on I think it's on Channels TV one morning he said something which up till today I'm still reflecting on, because it seems to run through with some of the things that I've seen happening. He's now saying that some of the things that we see happening from the government that perhaps maybe it's a ploy, yeah, to ensure that 2023 does not happen. And the reporter was trying to ask the man to explain on it. The man wasn't ready to go into explanation. But when he dropped it, yeah, it because I'm close to certain people in the government. As soon as he dropped it, it resonates in my head. And you know that there are certain things you see sometimes that you don't take cognizance of until the situation like that.
Yep.
And it was when he dropped it that certain things that I've ignored in the past now beginning to come up in my head, and I'm like, this guy could be right, because it's like I don't believe in conspiracy theory, but sometimes, the universe will say, sorry, my brother Chidi, I'm going into my Yoruba proverb now. It says something look like a lame dog. Somebody said it doesn't look like a lame person, but either way,
it's lame.
Yeah, something is not balanced here.
Yes.
So that's the situation we find ourselves in this country, which is a shame. I just hope somebody somewhere up at the echelon of the government will wake up, because whether we like it or not, we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder.
Wow.
And I just pray it doesn't blow up in our faces.
Okay, let me bring in Brother Chidi. You've seen the video of Gumi, and I don't need to tell you about him because you know him very well. What is your view about this man? Because it's not just only him. Sunday Igboho is there too, and in fact, from my understanding, the 3rd of July is when they are going to put Lagos on a standstill, as they are planning to, and yet nobody is arresting nobody is going after nobody. Everything is as if it is normal. What is your view on that? And you can unmic yourself, you can unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think I was enjoying the professor's contribution, because it was making the points that I would like to make. I think everything is very clear. The government just creates this massive space, this vacant space that any mad person can step into and fill and say anything and do anything. The government doesn't do anything until the last minute, and when they do it, it is again the most counterproductive action that will make that problem 20,000 times worse. Either you go and arrest people, you go and beat people, you put people in prison. Look at this fellow Showore. Whenever he does his demonstration, I don't think up to 20 people turn up. If government just left him alone, ignored him, if he wants to go and do his demonstration and put it on Facebook, put it on this thing, nothing will happen. Nigeria will not fall. This man literally cannot change the chairman of his local government, and I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way, in a rude way.
But I'm saying the truth. It's the fact.
He doesn't have any power. He doesn't have any power. Even on social media, he can't generate that much. Look at Navalny. Okay, Navalny at least is a billionaire or was a millionaire, whatever. You can see he's using social media. But people, even when he's been arrested in winter in Russia, minus 30 degrees, people will still come out. That's the kind of power that a government would fear. But just look at Showore, you see one or two guys coming out with placards, talking, holding things.
A yellow hat.
And if you leave them, honestly, if it's me, I will just get police to stand at. I'll just give them a space. I'll fence it with small fence and say, just stay there, do your placard. You don't finish. Okay, well done, sir. Go. Everything is finished. No, everything is finished. I'm saying this. I'm not saying this to disrespect him, because I think he's trying to do something. But why you will go to the point of arresting him, beating him, shooting at him? For why? I don't get it. And it's the same thing with Kanu. He's been ranting on his radio station for a while. We were warning. I remember from how many years back, people have been warning that this guy, let him not pass. Be careful. But everybody thought, okay, it would just be a small thing that to be, and then the government just arrested him and turned him into something massive. So the same thing with Sunday Igboho. Again, I'm hoping that they don't get too excited and go and do something in Lagos, because they will now feel threatened. The thing is, in Lagos, we have to do something. and then turn, because that one now, the Southwest is the only part of Nigeria that doesn't have an active indigenous insurgency.
Yeah.
You know, it's the only part of Nigeria that doesn't have some sort of indigenous insurgency. There's huge insecurity due to the herdsmen issue and the criminality, but at least there's no insurgency. Now imagine what will happen if he can radicalize the boy, not just the boys in the hinterland, but the boys in the slums in Ajegunle and Makoko, all these places. If they rise up, what will happen? It's so. But getting back to the Gumi issue, the thing about Sheikh Gumi is that to me, he's a very fascinating creature because he makes some statements which to me make very perfect sense. When he talks about how, you know, the guys, the bandits or whatever they are became radicalized, it makes a lot of sense. Yes, they have been, as we've all said, they've been marginalized. I speak as somebody, I consider, you know, as an Igbo man, I would say, okay, my people have been massacred. We were pushed out, you know, in the 60s, ran away, decided we secede. We declared our own country, invaded, our entire region destroyed, we were defeated, like literally defeated. Like my village was one of the last places to be overrun. We were crushed. And then we had to come and kind of bring ourselves up again. But even even the life of somebody, you know, who has gone through all of that is still better than the life of somebody in Katsina or Zamfara. You know, so when we talk about marginalization in Nigeria, you know, it's all about levels. You know, I might feel marginalized because I feel disrespected, but he's marginalized because he can barely feed himself and his children. He has no prospects. Now I'm speaking grammar that, oh, I'm not getting position. His own is that he can't feed, he can't eat. Which one concerns whether he's going to be DG
He
or
doesn't even have a hair. Even doesn't even have a house over his head. And we must say the truth concerning what Sheikh Gumi said, because we know there's a lot of extrajudicial killing that goes on in Nigeria that is unreported. So, and a lot of them have been killed, whether we like it or not. Yes. That's the truth.
And what we must also be clear on is that whole area is an ungoverned space. The things that happen there, we do not know. Like Kebbi State, we've been talking about Kebbi State came into the news, you know, with that abduction. But nobody knew that place has been overrun by bandits for, I would say, years. I would say maybe months. It became serious some months ago. For years, they've been there. People are like, we are in this game. We know what people will talk to us about. They'll be telling me they're in the bush. They're there. We know them. Sometimes they come into the market. Sometimes if something happens, they will do something. And nobody cares. Nobody has said anything. The governors, the senators, they will go collect their money. Nobody cares because these guys are forgotten. So that on that element, I think Sheikh Gumi has hit the nail on the head. And if he restricted himself to simply speaking on behalf of the marginalized elements of the North or the Northwest, I would say he's doing a good job. If he limited himself to saying, I will be the person to go into the bush and talk to the bandits, I would say good. That's it. That's at least somebody has to do that job. But there is that weird streak where this kind of supremacist ideology comes in, like from what was said in that clip about, you know, it's only Christian soldiers that are killing you. If you want to revenge, kill the Christian soldiers. Where it's the same thing that created Boko Haram, where you have an organization that is a Salafist fundamentalist organization, and you think you will co-opt it and you use it for your own purposes. And then when it turns around to overstep its boundaries, you try and crush it and it fights back. It's the same concept here, where, you know, there's elements of maybe the political elite who think that these boys are their boys, that okay, maybe they're just misbehaving now, but they can bring them back into the fold. It's not like that. These boys are their own boys. Is the funny thing that I always fascinates me when I hear Nigerian politicians saying the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. We are negotiating. These boys are negotiating. They are not using big grammar. They're not speaking phonetics, coming like, you know, using me and trying to use long words like myself. They're negotiating with their rifles. They're negotiating by kidnapping, and they're winning. Boko Haram is negotiating and they're winning. They want their caliphate. They're negotiating and they're winning. IPOB is in their own way. They're negotiating the unity of Nigeria. So this is what I'm saying is the biggest issue, is that the government will not listen when you say something. Let's sit down and talk. If you carry a rifle and do something, they will find a way of engaging with you, whether it's violently or non-violently. And we can cut out all of those steps by simply sitting down and talking and saying, listen, what is the problem? Zamfara State has gold. It has lots of minerals. It has agriculture. It could be a wealthy state. But rather than focusing on developing the state, people are more interested in national politics, in just going, win an election and go to Abuja and collect allocation. And this is where the fundamental of this problem comes in. But then to finalize this, when we talk about the hypocrisy of the state, this is where we come to it in that, what Sheikh Gumi has said, and even not just Sheikh Gumi, it seems like every week there's a new group coming out, either Northern Coalition, Northern Foundation, Northern Brotherhood, declaring that Igbos must leave, that everybody must pack out. Every week there's an ultimatum, one ultimatum after another. None of these people are getting picked up. None of them are getting arrested. And I'm not advocating that we should go around rounding people up. There's freedom of speech and all that kind of stuff. But when you continuously make these threats, and as I said, these threats are not based on just mouth, they're based on a history of massacres and pogroms in the north. Then you really need to start questioning why is this happening? Is this part of a kind of, as Bob said, is this part of a kind of a conspiracy or a plan to generate such insecurity that an election becomes unfeasible, and things can people can make I don't want to go into the realms of speculation, but I've just said yes, there's a very hypocritical kind of outlook, and I think if we genuinely want to foster unity in this country, there needs to be a declaration by the government to say enough is enough. This is everybody's last chance. And next person who steps over the line, you get pulled in. And then that way, hopefully, we have a chance of making it through to the next election and Nigeria hopefully can survive a few more years.
Okay, at this point, I think you've rightly put it in my last conversation today, which is making me very angry, and I hope it makes you very angry. I'm going to share a screen now, and yes, that's the screen I want to share. Now, let me share that screen. Can you see the screen that I'm sharing now? Can you both see the screen I'm sharing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is the INEC screen?
Okay.
The independent INEC screen. Can you see it?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the independent INEC screen. And if you see it, it talks about the different services and how you could register, a new and get a voter's card. Now, I am so angry. I am really angry because the reason I'm angry, let me go back now. The reason I'm really angry is because as we speak, we in the diaspora, 70.5 million people, we can't even register to be part of it. There are Nigerians who have been stuck in the UK who might not even have a Nigerian phone number. I thought any educated person, any engineer that is putting this kind of system together could know that at least when you put a system together that people should use to register, you will do it in such a way that when you are asking for people to register, in terms of they are asking for you to put your details, your name, your address, your mobile number, and the only mobile number you could put there is a Nigerian mobile number. Why is it that it's only Nigerian mobile number that you could put there? Why is it that Nigerians cannot vote in the diaspora, can still not vote? And it looks as if we've been dissatisfied. Is that the word they use again? We're now a second-class citizen in our own country. Buhari promised us that we will vote in 2023. It's part of the promise. But it looks as if this promise is not going to come to pass because the National Assembly is sitting on the electoral law. And not only are they sitting on the electoral law, the laws that relate to diaspora voting, they are refusing to make it work. In 1 minute, sir, before we go, Barrister, what do you have to say about that? Because I'm really angry. I don't know if you are angry like I am.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because it
Okay.
looks like I'm not sure. Maybe you're not. It looks like you're not privy to what's going on presently.
Okay.
I'm privy to the fact that because I'm a member of APC UK.
Okay.
And we have taken it upon ourselves now to draft a bill, which is called the Diaspora Voting Bill.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say now that it has passed the second reading.
Okay.
We set up an organized an event last year February in Transcorp Hilton Hotel, where I think it was the Speaker of the House of Representatives that was the chairman at the occasion, where we showcased the diaspora voting event. And I think 48 hours after that, it passed the first reading. It's passed the second reading. And as I'm speaking to you now, my leader is in Abuja on that same issue. Yeah, lobbying left, right, and center.
Okay, so can I ask you? So I agree that there is a bill that is okay. Are you confident that that bill will see the day of that it will be passed? Because the reason I'm saying that is because they've now the Speaker of the House said just yesterday, I believe, that they will make sure that they pass the electoral bill. They pass the electoral bill and also the petroleum bill. Are you saying that there is possibility that we will be allowed to vote come 2023 in the diaspora? Because this new portal they created, even simple things like, for those that are listening to us, I was born here. So when you create a pothole like this and it's insisting that you have to put where you were born, and when they say where you were born, it doesn't allow you to put other countries. It only allows you to put that you were born in Nigeria, or where it doesn't allow you to put a mobile phone that is outside Nigeria. Those kind of things means that people like me cannot even register for it in the first place. Because I'm going to Abuja soon, and my plan was that, okay, let me register, and when I get to Abuja, I can go and do the physical one. But now, they're not even allowing me to do the registration because I need to have a telephone number. And if I want to add to it, to add salt to pepper, when I went to Nigeria last, when I collected my when I registered for my NIN, all telephone numbers, new telephone numbers have been suspended. So even when you enter Nigeria, you can't get a new number because it's been suspended. And they're not thinking of the diaspora at all.
Well, I would say all things being equal,
okay,
there's a possibility that we'll be able to go to 2023. And I said all things being equal.
Okay.
With the Nigerian factor in my mind.
Okay.
If the Nigerian factor did not come into play, because the reason why I'm saying this is because even at the event that we held last February, we still have some senators who are still talking to us, telling us that they don't think it's feasible that Nigerians abroad will be allowed to vote. And I think it all boils down to the fact that they know that Nigerians in diaspora cannot be bought, like they can buy people from
back home.
Back at home. So that it was. I think the event was like an eye opener to us, and at that time we had to set up the Diaspora Voting Council. Now we have a Diaspora Voting Council working tirelessly to ensure that it happens, because that is our goal, to make sure that.
Okay. Can I give you an assignment? Can I give you an assignment, sir? Since I know that you are a party man, can you also look into this new portal? And if you are going to send an official letter to let them know that we in the diaspora are not happy, because things like we are making mobile number compulsory, and that mobile number has to be okay. Let me give you an example. If you work in the Nigerian embassy as we speak, you are entitled to vote, and you can't have a Nigerian number. There's nothing wrong in you putting a foreign number there. So why is it that they are making it compulsory that you have to put a Nigerian number? Those are simple things that they can easily just change on the tweak to allow us to be able to vote.
Again, it does boils down to this Nigerian factor thing. Sometimes the way we do things in a haphazard way, that it beggars belief sometimes. You get the point? Because perhaps maybe whoever designed that portal was thinking, oh, it's only Nigerians that will vote. That was why. But then I would have thought that any forward-thinking person would have thought, okay, even if we don't have Nigerian diaspora voting now, there's a possibility that we'll have it in the future. So why not put it in now instead of having to come back and redo it again?
Adjusting it. And if I could say, one of the things that normally should have happened is that you use a user survey. You pick some few people to test the system who are customers, who will then give you their feedback, and that feedback will be embedded. That is the way it is done in a civilized area, not using a 12th century approach. Let me ask Mr. Chidi, what's your view? Have you visited our website? Have you been able to register to vote in Umuahia or wherever you want to vote? If you had the chance of voting in Nigeria.
No, I've never voted in Nigeria. Unfortunately, this is the curious thing. I've voted so many times here in the UK, and it's such an easy thing. I've voted by post. I've voted in person. It's just an easy thing. But as you said, we are not considered the diaspora, despite the fact that the Nigerian diaspora is huge all over the world. Could be a huge kind of voting block for somebody if you choose to tap into it. Nobody is interested in the diaspora because our votes don't count or are not important because we can't be bought. We'll come and be speaking grammar about good governance or whatever it is.
And we could disrupt it. But if 1 million Nigerians decide to vote in one way, and I've had the argument, and I want the barrister to say this, that some of the reasons that some of the northern, it's an allegation, that some of the northern superpowers or people of interest believe that since the population, in terms of population of the diaspora, seems to fall 70% more into Southwest, that it might be a disadvantage to the North if they allow diaspora voting. I don't know how true that is, but I know you might not want to comment on that. But the fact is that is some of the that's some of the narrative that is preventing the diaspora voting.
Whether the narrative is true or not, the fact remains that some of us have taken it upon ourselves to ensure that the diaspora voting will become a reality. Whether some people like it or not, because you see, the money that goes into remittances from diaspora to Nigeria is equal to the amount of money they make from oil. Have you noticed that?
Yes, sir.
So what are we talking about? And I remember a couple of occasions when I've met with some of them, who came here trying to solicit for us to go home and invest. And I've always been challenging them. I said, you want me to invest in a country where I'm not allowed to decide who govern me? Even though I have properties there, but I used to tell them that, hell no, I'm not going to do it. I was doing that on purpose to sink it into their head that we cannot just come here and be soliciting for our hard-earned money here, and yet you don't want us to have a say in who governs how that money is spent. It just doesn't make sense.
And if I could add to that, they tell you that if you want to open a bank account, you need to go and bring a bill, bring an electricity bill, big gas bill. So most people are forging documents to be able to have a bank account. And I'm saying, why would I want to do that? I'm a bit popular, if I can use that little word, and I don't want to be caught out using bills when I don't live in the country. Why can't you just accept me on the basis of my passport and put a clause there that if you live in Europe, you can actually bring your passport and bring your ID and we can register. Instead, they will say, go and open a diaspora and go and open a domiciliary account where you'll be putting dollars. So you are not allowed to open local account, but you have to open the ones that you pay dollars, and yet you can't collect your money in dollars. It doesn't make sense. Mr. Chidi, in 30 seconds, what is your view and what will be your advice to the government moving forward?
My advice to the government, and again, I'm throwing this out there as on the basis that if we have a government that genuinely is looking for the advancement of Nigeria and genuinely wants to engage the Nigerian people, is that diaspora voting on this particular topic is something that will be a game changer. And for exactly what you said, for anybody who is in Western Europe or in the United States, it's there's very easy workarounds to get around identity and everything. Simple thing to say, okay, if you want to vote as a Nigerian, you need to be a Nigerian passport holder. But at the same time, if you're in the country that, for example, we in the UK now, all you need to do is go through bring your credit check. Everybody can now do a credit check. Bring your credit check to prove your identity, to prove along with your Nigerian passport. Register. If you don't have a Nigerian address, then we use your state of origin and all that kind of stuff. Register to vote, and that's it. It's done. You give people a sense of ownership, and then there's so many things that you can do with the diaspora, like all the remittances we send back. We don't. The other time they stopped Western Union because whatever reason they stopped Western Union. If anybody had sense, what you would say is that, okay, rather than using Western Union, the government is going to partner with all the banks that you can put your money through. You can put your money in a Nigerian bank in the UK, and your relatives can withdraw it at a black market rate or whatever rate it is, or get the pound or dollar equivalent. That would what we send in foreign currencies, as we said, is the same as the oil revenue. So imagine all of that foreign currency coming through the official streams. Even if you just keep it in the federal government account for one day, the interest alone will fund a significant part of government. It's just do things that are innovative, but once you do that to us, then all of a sudden you're accountable to us, and that's unfortunately is not what the Nigerian government or any Nigerian government wants.
Thank you so much. Let me ask Barrister in 30 seconds, what would be your advice to Nigerian government moving forward?
I'll just say, they should wake up and smell the coffee, because, like I said earlier on, they have this penchant of shooting themselves in the foot. I said something to a colleague of mine about 2 or 3 years ago when I went to Abuja, and I said to him, it looks like sometimes certain people in government has their thumb pressed permanently on a self-destruct button. Because certain things they do sometimes make us believe that you begin to wonder, do they have a single cell of brain in their head at all? So that's why I said I said what I said earlier. Now it is hard time they all wake up and smell the coffee. That's a lot. Mr. Chidi just mentioned something now that is very vital about the remittances from here to Nigeria. You see, people don't think outside the box, and that's the problem. And it's simply because we have too many analog leaders back home who are still stuck in the Sadana era. Their brain is still stuck there. They are not into the 21st century where the world moves so fast that when you snooze, you lose. When you blink, you lose it. They need to be thinking outside the box. This remittances from diaspora, for me, it's a major revenue earner. That, like Mr. Chidi suggested, if they make it easy for every Nigerian in diaspora to send that money through a Nigerian bank, instead of all this mushroom Western Union whatever thing, through a Nigerian, and give them good rates. Trust me, the economy will be the better for it. Well, who's thinking for us?
Nobody.
Like I said, they are still stuck in a time warp. I'll be surprised if their brain is in the 1960s. It looks more to me like in the 1914 or something like that.
Thank you so much.
That's the problem we have at the moment now. So I would say let them wake up. It is time for them. I think they should have woken up about 2 years ago. It is too late now, but then better late than never. If they wake up now, they can still catch up a little bit, with the rest of the world maybe in 5-10 years time, but not that them not getting up and smelling the coffee. For me, it's not going to go well for the country, because I'm just praying, because I was talking to one of the youths from Nigeria this evening. I was saying to him that you guys are just messing about. You should be the ones now giving these guys a run for their money towards 2023, because if you want to take over, nobody will put power on your laps. Even the Bible says heaven suffers violence, right? And the strong does what? Take it by force.
Yeah.
So that if heaven should be suffering violence, what more also wrong? If you want this country to move forward, you all have. You see, I was disappointed in 2019 when we had the like of Sowore, when I thought he had some sense in his head. We had some other young guys that came up. I was praying fervently that time that if only they could just come together, form one party, and give these guys a run for their money. Even though I'm the APC, I was still craving for that. But what happened? Everybody was fighting for their own selfish ends. By that they lost, and that was why somebody like Kawale couldn't win 30,000 votes in the whole country. And yes, he's talking about revolution. You get the point? So if the youth can get up today now and begin to make inroads into politics, this is the time for them is now. They may not get there in 2023, but if they don't start now, they may never get there.
Yeah.
So this is my own. I just digress there a little bit. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and thank you for all those people that are watching us live on YouTube, live on LinkedIn, and live, on Facebook. I'll say please like the page, share the page. You can watch this broadcast again by going to www.youtube.com/Temitope Olodo. Let me thank Mr. Chidi for giving us his time. There was a very busy man. Thank you, Barrister Adebola, for giving us the time. In fact, I have a partner in Gibraltar who told me that diaspora voting can happen very easily. They could put a machine inside every Nigeria embassy. And just like when you are traveling, or just like when you are traveling abroad, traveling through Terminal 5 now, you put your Nigerian passport inside the thing. It will recognize your Nigerian passport and the biometric. You put your fingerprint and it will take your iris. It will take 3 of them as a form of identification so that nobody can use it. Then you put a pin. So you use your passport first, you put your fingerprint, you put your eye, and you put your. He said they did that system. That system is what they're using in Gibraltar. He is the one that created the biometric system in Gibraltar and is willing to do it for Nigeria so that we can use it for our electoral system. How can you beat that when somebody has their fingerprint and then you just say, who are you voting for? APC, PDP? It will be big on the screen. And you just put a thumb. Boom, the thing goes straight to Abuja. Nobody touches it. Nobody tampers with it electronically. Yeah, they don't want anything like that. Because that would have been the easiest way. You go into the embassy, you enter into the embassy, no talk can enter. No talk can go in any country. You go into the embassy, you put your fingerprint, you put your passport, it takes your iris, and then it asks you a question. Who do you want to vote for? Buhari, Tinubu, whoever. And then you put your thumb against the person, and then the thing will take it. So there's no way anybody can manipulate it because your fingerprint has to be there. Your eye, let me just even stop because they've taken us as a second class, and we need to now start fighting for this. It's our right. It's our right. It's our right. And we're going to fight for it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for all our viewers watching both on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Until we come to you again, my name is Temitope Olodo, and I say thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. God bless.
Thank you.